But for some of the early rabbis, there remained a stumbling block in teaching chapters 1 and 2 of Genesis. If the one version of creation logically followed the other, how to reconcile the man who stands with a woman on day 6 of creation at the end of chapter 1, with that of a lone man at the beginning of the next chapter, still without a mate? One solution to this baffling order of events was derived from an ancient Sumerian fable and held currency with rabbis for some time.
What they say is this, that originally God did create both male and female. The male's name was Adam, the woman's name was Lilith. And like Adam, she was made directly out of the earth. For that reason, she saw no earthly reason why she should be considered inferior to Adam, so that when he wished to have intercourse with her and threatened to force her to assume an inferior position, she said God's secret name and disappeared into the wilderness.
Such conjecture notwithstanding, no one doubts that Adam is alone in the second chapter, when God decides to create a suitable mate for him. But no known pre-existent myth imagined a woman being formed as she is in Eden.
So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept. Then he took one of his ribs and closed up its place with flesh. And the rib that the Lord God had taken from the man, he made into a woman and brought her to the man. Genesis 2:22.
We're almost viewing the human creature as androgynous. And once Eve comes into existence, then you finally have male and female. Before that, what you had was a creature that contained both sides in itself. Now it's been separated out into two creatures. And this, of course, is the reason why male and female long for each other. In Joseph Campbell's words, why we have that zeal of the organs for one another.
The man, later to be called Adam, given the power to name every creature on earth, now declares,
"This at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called woman, for out of man this one was taken." Genesis 2:23.
One pair of humans will thus begin at the beginning together. For Hebrew scholars, this is a defining moment for the new religion.
The Bible is teaching Adam a lesson that nothing in this world will mean as much to you as that which comes from yourself, and that in some way every union of a man and a woman is a reunion in whose eyes he could see the divine image and in whose eyes he could see a reflection of himself.
Scholars also find great social and political meaning in the equal treatment man and woman are given in Genesis.
The reason why all human beings are portrayed in the Bible as going back to Adam and Eve is, and I quote literally from the rabbinic text, that no person should be able to say to another, "My ancestors are greater than yours." In other words, human equality is inherent in the biblical narrative.
And so, with the final formation of male and female, chapter 2 ends. The serpent tempter will appear in the next verse. But at this moment, what other significance can be drawn from this poetic narrative of the first human's creation?
It's quite clear that God wanted human beings to be at the final end, crowning point of that whole process of creation. And thus, we, human beings, angels are God's central focus in creation. Everything leads up to us. This is in tremendous contrast to the stories in the ancient myths.
I tend to endorse the view that God has so much love to give that it requires another subject in relationship to God. That God creates not to have other people to dig his irrigation ditches, but to have other entities in the universe with whom God can have real relationships. It is the boundlessness of God's love that brings creation into existence.
For the Israelites of more than 3,000 years ago, their story of creation was regarded as a true story. For them, everything as told in Genesis actually happened. When we return,